And welcome everyone to the second part of the Somewhat Sports Podcast. Part one was our NHL and NBA draft winners and losers. We talked about some good shit over there, and now we talk about NBA free agency winners and losers. So, guys, a plethora of news, of course. A bunch of teams signed people for the right reasons, maybe for the wrong reasons. Who knows? That's what we'll talk about here today. So, should we start off on a positive note? Talk about some winners? No? Losers?
Winners first. Winners first.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's do the usual. Let's start off with the winners.
Okay, I don't know why that took a while to respond, but here we are.
My
Okay.
AirPod dropped.
Sounds like a you problem, Chief. All right.
It's obviously you problem too because you didn't get an answer to your question. So
Jurg could have answered it, so
nah.
Yeah, anyway.
Don't put this on him.
him. All right, let's talk about some winners. Shall we go with the obvious here? Winner number one, we'll go to, of course, the Los Angeles Lakers. Yeah, that's right. The Lakers won free agency, to the happiness of Dame, of course. So should we go over? they signed so many people. So before actually free agency started, they traded for Russell Westbrook, Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, and I think the 22nd, their 2021 first round pick to the Wizards in exchange for Russell Westbrook. So Westbrook comes home to LA, and then in terms of free agency, they signed Trevor Ariza, Dwight Howard, Wayne Ellington, Malik Monk, Kendrick Nunn, and I feel like I'm missing someone. Am I missing someone?
Dwight, Ariza, Ellington, Bazemore, Monk, Kendrick Nunn, THT, and Melo.
Yeah, they re-signed THT, and then Caruso goes out the door. Markieff Morris is out the door. Wesley Matthews is out the door. So yeah, clearly a W in terms of just signing guys that they desperately needed. They get shooting, they get somewhat defense in terms of Trevor Ariza, but also you get back Dwight Howard, who, it was such it was such a mystery as to why he left in the first place. Kind of some childish antics, of course. But again, you got Wayne Ellington, you got Trevor Ariza, so you got your 3 and D, or you essentially get your shooting. THT, you bring him back. They obviously love him. Kendrick Nunn, I know he had offers, especially from the Knicks, but he decided to go to LA for less money. You had a player option the second year. I think it was 2 year, $5 million. And then this one hurt. Malik Monk. I could not believe the Lakers snagged Malik Monk. I don't necessarily know if there was a market for Malik Monk, but I'm just upset because I desperately wanted him on the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
But look, clearly, I don't know if he was being lowballed by any offers, and maybe he thought he deserved more than what he was getting offered. But again, these talented but afterthoughts of young players, it's kind of like an FU to the league, and then it signs with the Lakers. Why not? You compete for a chip, you play with LeBron. He'll be a great backup guard. He brings shooting to the team. He doesn't need to play defense. But that one broke me. But they get a good mix of young guys, a good mix of defense, a good mix of veterans, a good mix of shooting. So, Dame, I'm gonna go to you since this is your team.
Whoa.
What?
It's not my team.
Shut up. Yes, it is. All right. What do you
No,
think
it's
about these
not.
additions? And what? Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna state this, not my team. I'm just a LeBron fan. Anyways, so going into this offseason, clearly everyone knew that the Lakers had very little room to improve on their roster last year, but we thought that same thing last year and last offseason. They went out, they got guys like Montrezl Harrell, and they shocked a lot of people what they could do. They did the same thing this year, but I think they took it to a whole nother level. Obviously, training for Russell Westbrook. I personally don't like the fit. I would rather Buddy Hield for the same exact package. I don't think he's as good as a player, Russell Westbrook, but I think he fits this Lakers team better. But like I said, very little room to improve. You added the talent like Westbrook. So the Lakers, I guess, went into this offseason kind of thinking adding any talent we possibly could would help their chances moving forward. Of course, they added all these kind of guys that can shoot the ball. I think I read a stat that 3 or 4 of the guys shot 40% from 3 last season, and Kendrick Nunn shot 38%. So you could really round it out to 5 guys that shot 40% from 3. And I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but I'm going to just take a wild guess, educated guess, and say nobody on the Lakers last year shot 40% from 3 or really even close because they were really bad at it. A big win for the Lakers is getting rid of Kyle Kuzma, who was terrible and stupid and had little to no trade value out there. They like Woj said, they were looking to trade KCP and Kyle Kuzma to really any team that was willing to take him. And getting a guy like Russell Westbrook out of it is a big win, and just getting rid of him and his stupidity away from LeBron is a big win as well. Um, Overall, I'm happy with the moves. A lot of shooting, a lot of guards. They also got. I know a lot of people are saying they got a lot of old guys, but like guys like Malik Monk, who a lot of people thought was gonna get like north around $10 million a year, like 2 for 20, 3 for 30, took the league minimum just to play with the Lakers. He adds shooting and athleticism to kind of balance out all these old heads that they have. But I've said to my friends, like the Lakers aren't built for the next 5 years. They're built for this year. All these guys are signed for 1 year deals and not multi-year deals. They're trying to maximize LeBron's time in LA and LeBron's time in the NBA. So they're doing what they can to win this year. When it comes to next offseason and building for the following year, they'll reassess and go at this again. But for right now, these moves are for this upcoming season to try to win their 18th championship and help LeBron win number 5. I think they're all great moves for that.
I can't. Oh, I forgot Carmelo Anthony also signed with them, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Carmelo Anthony, of course, best friends with LeBron, finally goes to the Lakers. Like, even if you're not a Lakers fan, like you'd want Melo to get a ring at least. So if they're gonna play like a team like the Nets, you root for the Lakers because Carmelo Anthony finally gets to play with his boy. Probably will get far in the playoffs. We're all happy for him. He adds shooting. It's Carmelo Anthony. You're not gonna get like a 40% shooter, but again, he does add an element of shooting that they need. So, Jurg, what do you think about the moves?
I think it was amazing. After the Russell Westbrook trade, it became very obvious that this team needed to add defense and shooting by any which way necessary, and that was predominantly going to be with the veteran minimum contracts. Now, I think they still have, because I don't think they definitely, well, unless maybe the THT contract knocks it out, but they did have, at least for a good bit of time, the taxpayer mid-level exception, which is a lower tiered version of the regular mid-level exception. The regular MLE is like $9 million, and the taxpayer MLE is anywhere from 4 to 5. So I don't know if they still technically have it. I don't know if they can use it, or maybe the THC signing knocks it out. I have no idea. But if they do still have that, like, you could honestly expect them to maybe try to get one more player that's like solid. But even aside from that, just looking at all the signings they made, from the 3-point shooting stance, you have Trevor Ariza, reputation shooter; Wayne Ellington, golden arm, reputation shooter from Miami; Kent Bazemore, Malik Monk's shot well from 3; Kendrick Nunn can shoot the 3 ball well; THT, essentially the only guy they added who cannot shoot the 3-pointer ever is Dwight, and everyone else can shoot the 3. Ariza and Bazemore add good perimeter defense. THT, bringing him back was key. He's a good perimeter defender. Kendrick Nunn, like, he defensively wise, like, he's not a premier defender, but he's gonna hold his own on possessions. I don't think he's a scrub personally on the defensive side of things at all. He's relatively athletic, so he's gonna keep up in like certain lineups. Maybe he could be pretty valuable getting heavy minutes off the bench. It all depends on how much they're gonna play him. Although, actually, now I think about it, they used None was the $5 million, so never mind. He was the taxpayer MLE, if I'm not mistaken. So boom, there we go. Like, just an amazing job overall filling everything out. They got more interior defense to help out AD with Dwight. Should have never lost him last year in the first place. That was a stupid error made in the organization. They got him back, which was good. He had always wanted to come back, and there was no ill will from last season, so he's back. The defense with Ariza and Bazemore, Ellington's shooting, Malik Monk, Nunn, and THT. The big thing with those 3 is that they're young, they're explosive, they could attack the rim on a couple of possessions, especially Nunn and Monk a few times. Overall, the Lakers, they added some youth, they added some defense, they added 3-point shooting, they added a little bit of defense. I would preferably, I think they still have Marc Gasol. I know Marc Gasol is a high IQ defender, but I don't know if he could still bring it on the defensive side of things. Maybe you should look for a guy on a 2-way contract. You could sign like a good big, or if there's still one more spot on the roster, I'm sure there is, you could sign another, minimum wage big man that can rebound a little bit. Aside from that, it's been a good offseason. And of course, as we all expected, Melo, like 11 years too late in terms of playing with LeBron at the peak of their powers. Melo was supposed to be the original third guy in the big 3 in Miami, but he wanted to take more money early on, and he doubled down on that several times. So ultimately didn't get a chance to play with LeBron until now, but now he gets to. There's chemistry there, there's familiarity. I wouldn't be surprised if, and apparently from reports that AD is more willing to play the 5 this season, that you put LeBron and Melo are the 3 and the 4 with AD at the 5. That would be very interesting. But the thing is, he's not much of a defender. And yes, I know AD makes up for a lot defensively. And I guess at the 2, you would probably put Bazemore or Ariza, depending. Maybe Bazemore just for better, it feels like it would be a better fit in that lineup, or THT even to start. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Like, the Lakers have a lot of lineup possibilities with this group, so I want to see what they do. But overall, like, for losing in the first round because of how injury riddled they were at the end, LeBron and AD are getting a healthy offseason. I think the Lakers did a good job. They're not a super team. Like, the people that are trying to say this, they're not a super team. They have a big 3. There's a difference here. I heard one of my colleagues at OTBN mention it, actually. There is a vast difference between having a big 3 and being a super team. A big 3 is just you have your set 3 guys, and they all happen to be all-star caliber players. A super team gets it done. They make it happen. So let's stop all the conversation right here, right now. This is not a super team because they haven't won, and they're not going to be one technically until they even come close to winning. So let's stop with that. But yeah, I think it was a nice offseason for the Lakers, and they're obviously, like Dame said, they're going to go for championship number 18 and number 5 for LeBron. And this could arguably be the final the final great year LeBron has before he transitions into a different role in his career. So you got to make the most of it.
Yeah, I'll believe that when I actually see it. Man, the transition game between him and Russell Westbrook is gonna be crazy, man. I understand the fit isn't there, but I'm not gonna question it until it actually fails.
Well, I'll
I
say
mean,
this about Russ, like, even though obviously the fit isn't there on paper, I think the idea of Russ is that January game against the Cleveland Cavaliers that LeBron doesn't feel like playing this time, even though I think he always plays Cleveland, but just hypothetically, bear with me, people. The January game against Cleveland, the February game against Sacramento on like the back end of a back-to-back, and LeBron doesn't feel like playing. Russell Westbrook is there to play those games and to give this team energy in those contests. The
yeah,
the 10 to 12 games that LeBron is likely going to miss, Russell Westbrook is there to try to give them a better shot at winning those games. And AD is going to miss a couple games too. Like,
yeah,
again, a full off season. I hope he's getting his body into better shape for next season. I don't think he'll be. But fingers crossed, he's not injury riddled just for the sake of him being a great player. But he's probably going to miss at least anywhere from 5 to 10 games as well. So in those games where LeBron and AD likely overlap and miss time, or when one of them has to play with someone else, like, Russ is there, and from that perspective, it actually makes sense.
yeah, and that's why you get all these players to get a little bit of depth, just in case like these dudes miss games, which is probably gonna happen. Yeah. Now we move on over to our second winner, to Jurg's satisfaction, the Miami Heat. Of course, Pat Riley, the devil, Satan himself, just pulls out rabbits out of hats. Um, There was smoke, but it actually happened. Kyle Lowry has officially signed with the Miami Heat, 3 for $90 million. They re-signed Duncan Robinson, 5 for $90 million. Ooh. We're gonna talk about that, Jurg. They signed PJ Tucker, I believe, 2 years, $16 million. They re-signed Oladipo to, I think, a minimum. They get Markieff Morris as well. They re-signed Dwayne Dedman. Yeah, just overall, Miami Heat, man, they poured it on, and I think I'm gonna say this: with all these additions, I think they are in a collision course with the Brooklyn Nets for next year's Eastern Conference Finals. Hopefully everyone's all healthy, but I think those are the two teams. That's right. I'm putting the Heat over the Bucks. So let's just talk about this in general. Yeah, I'm not bringing up the Sixers because who knows. Kyle Lowry, the connection was there with Jimmy Butler. Kyle Lowry, I think is better than Goran Dragic. Kyle Lowry, I think, still has years in which he could play at a all-star level, in my opinion, maybe one or two. They get defense with Lowry and PJ Tucker. They retain Duncan Robinson, so they're going to have their shooting. And also Kyle Lowry, you get shooting with Kyle Lowry. So you don't have to necessarily play through Jimmy now. It's not like a ride or die through Jimmy, which I think is huge because also Jimmy is getting older. So I think having a Kyle Lowry to take off the playmaking duties, even though Jimmy can play make himself, he can facilitate, does help instrumentally. That duo between Kyle Lowry and Bam is going to be lethal, in my opinion, as well. PJ Tucker, you know, speaking of taking off defensive pressures, man, PJ Tucker, the battles with KD are going to continue in the playoffs. Again, takes off defensive pressure off Bam and Jimmy Butler. Like, Jimmy Butler always has to guard the opposing team's best player, but now he can still do that. But again, you have PJ Tucker, so Jimmy Butler could, conserve a lot of energy going forward. So I think this is great for the Heat. You have your top 3, you have your big 3. You retain shooting. You add some depth with Markieff Morris. Hopefully Tyler Hero gets back to normalcy. Who knows? They could use some point guard depth. Again, they lost Kendrick Nunn as well. It's like nitpicking. But also, I think retaining Victor Oladipo is solid, man, for minimum. And, you know, who knows if he gets back to at least 80%, that's some scoring off the bench. And again, like when I saw the signings the Heat made, I was like, oh, okay. The one thing they're lacking is depth. You take that risk on Victor Oladipo if he's going to be a minimum, because like honestly, if you could get him to like a 10 to 12 points per game, that's solid in my opinion. So the Heat, obviously A+ free agency. They get better. I think they're better than the Bucks right now. Obviously, they're better than the Sixers. They're better than the Hawks as well. Yeah, Jurg, this is your team. I didn't really get your thoughts on the movements that occurred, but I think maybe you save them for the podcast. What did you make of your team's free agency moves?
Christ Almighty, you're putting us over the Bucks. Like, I guess thank you. Like, first of all, I didn't know. I truly did not know where Miami was going to be in this. I had no idea prior to Chris sending us the winners that he had in store. So the fact that Miami's here, like, I'll take that as a W right now. I don't think we're better than the Bucks. I'm not going to call us better than the defending NBA champions right now, especially Giannis. Like, he always has, but he scares me. That dude scares me on the court, man. Oh Lord. But I think we're better than Atlanta. So have at it, Hawks fans. And I think we are better than the 76ers. So I'll say that. Yeah, sorry, JoJo. Not sorry. Andre Drummond's your backup now.
God.
So I'm just imagining like you kind of alluded to it, but like imagine in crunch time against the Bucks or the Nets in an important playoff game or a regular season game for playoff positioning. The Miami Heat are going to run the defensive lineup of Kyle Lowry, Victor Oladipo if he's healthy, Jimmy Butler, PJ Tucker, and Bam Adebayo. Like that, like people have been saying it. This Heat team is set to lock teams down, at least on paper. Laurie is still a pretty solid defender. Victor Oladipo, if he, like you said, at 80%, his value comes on defense as well, where he could be a good perimeter defender. Jimmy Butler, we know, is all NBA defensive team caliber. PJ Tucker is a rough defender, and Bam Adebayo is going to be a defensive player of the year candidate for the next like 8 to 10 years. So that's pretty good. And then the 9-man rotation on a fully healthy Heat team, it's Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy Butler, PJ Tucker, Bam Adebayo. And off the bench, Victor Oladipo, Tyler Hero, which I think Oladipo will help offset some of the playmaking duties that Hero needed to really have last season, because I think it was a little bit too much to make him the backup point guard. I don't think that was the right role for him. I don't think he was ready for it. I think he'll be better this year, but I think Oladipo helps because at his best in Indiana, he was like a 5-6 assists per game player, like at least 5.5. So that'll help a little bit. So the two of them going off one another. And then Morris and Dwayne Dedmon. I think the big W keeping Dwayne Dedmon. I was really scared we were going to lose him, but he stayed in Miami, thankfully. So just the transactions themselves, I knew Pat Riley was going to make a move. The team was limited, so sending Goran Dragic and Precious Achua, I still haven't seen if there was a draft pick involved in that deal. So if there has, Chris, like I guess I just missed it. Okay, so it's just the two of them. So the fact that we didn't have to give up like a random second round pick is kind of a steal there. We could always use that random second round pick at the trade deadline, boys. Don't count out Pat Riley. If he sees a lengthy 6'7" 3-and-D player at the trade deadline, that Miami Heat are going to be in the discussion, fellas. So don't you worry about that. And then so Kyle Lowry coming here, I wasn't surprised. Pat Riley was always going to make a move. He has that rapport with Jimmy. The only concern is, man, when it comes to year 3 of that contract, I'm going to be really concerned with this team.
Oh yeah, they re-signed Jimmy.
Well, I was talking about Kyle Lowry because they signed Lowry to a 3-year deal, and
but I forgot they re-signed Jimmy. Now they bring that up. Ooh, and that man's going to be making $50 million in his final year.
Yeah. Hey! If we have another finals appearance or even a championship by then, I don't care. Pay him $100 million that year. If it ends up with a championship before that, go ahead. Like that, he's earned it. So, we'll see what the future holds. Like kind of like what Dame said with the Lakers. This team is built to win within the next 2 seasons. I think this team clearly has a 2-year window, and then everything is going to be reassessed from there, where it'll be Laurie on 1 year left. Tyler Hero's contract will be due. Jimmy Butler will be this season, next season. So I believe he'll be in year 2 of the extension by then, if I'm not mistaken. So there's that. Bam will be in year 3 of his 5-year max contract that he signed, or about as max as it could get. I don't know if it's technically max.
Point is they're pushing all their chips.
They're pushing all their chips. It's a 2-year window, so that's what it essentially is in Miami. With Duncan Robinson, I'll make this the final point. I'm not surprised that he got that much. He was always going to get that kind of money from someone,
Yeah.
and it just so happened to be paid by Miami. Like, here's the thing. Now that I've had time, I don't hate the contract, and here's why. Because when the Miami Heat made that run in the bubble in 2020, the thing was with their three-point shooting in those playoffs, I believe it was the second best of all the teams there, and their offensive efficiency was like top 5, top 10 in those playoffs. Last season, you saw a significant dip in the three-point percentage and a significant dip in the offensive efficiency. So for everyone wanting to say that while Duncan Robinson, like, oh, he looks like Sheen from Jimmy Neutron, and they just paid this guy, they just paid this guy $90 million to just shoot a basketball. Shooting pays now. Bertans, Joe Harris, who Joe Harris essentially got the same contract last season, just one less year. Yeah, Duncan Robinson was going to get this from someone, and Miami wanted to keep him because his shooting is extremely valuable.
Yeah.
Like, I would truthfully argue, if you're talking about individual skills on this team and how much they matter, Jimmy's leadership is probably one. Bam's defense is probably number two. But Duncan Robinson's shooting is three. And on some nights, it might even be number two. Like, that's how important just that one skill is to this Heat team. Because Duncan Robinson, whenever he's on the court, Eric Spoelstra has told him, you have the green light. If you get the ball, shoot it. Like, that's a legitimate thing. You see those wild, like, 30-foot threes he takes? Yeah, Spo tells him, shoot it if you're wide open. So that's how important he is. I'm not surprised. Good on you, Miami, that they were able to keep him. I'm a lot more confident in how this team is going to do in the regular season than I was, like, 48 to 72 hours ago. I really am.
Yeah, I think this team's just built for playoff basketball, to be honest. They're going to give the Nets the most trouble. And look, I see they're better than Milwaukee. I see it, bro. Like, they stole PJ Tucker from them, bro.
Trust me, I appreciate it, but
Well,
like
okay,
we saw in the series, like the shooting needs to get back up there. The shooting needs to get back up there for this team.
Okay, but like I think Lowry adds to that though, and then you have Markieff Morris off the bench. They just got way better defensively,
Oh, yeah.
right? And they also got scoring options. Well, I think they'll be able. Giannis will go off, right? I just think I don't know. I just think that this team is built for playoff basketball more than the Bucks are. I'm not gonna take anything away from the Bucks championship, but a lot of things went their way. I know they smoked Miami.
Look, I'm gonna say this real quick. If we get to a Game 7 next postseason, I'm picking us because it ain't no damn way Eric Spoelstra is losing to Mike Budenholzer in a Game 7.
You're gonna have bodies to throw at Giannis now. That includes PJ Tucker, bro. He knows now, and also PJ
think
Tucker
about
knows.
it. If they're both healthy, now it's Laurie and Oladipo going at Middleton and Holiday.
There's just too many options, I think. I feel like there's
and Laurie, honestly, is I love Gogi, but I think he'll be a better offensive threat in the playoffs against Drew Holiday, which means Drew can't always help on Jimmy as much. And Chris Middleton is a decent defender. He ain't locking down Jimmy Butler. Get the heck out of here. Jimmy Aloysius Buckets Butler will not be outdone by Chris bleeping Middleton. Put some respect on that man's name.
I just think with Lowry there, it's just gonna give Jimmy way more breathing room, in my opinion. This is way too early to make predictions. I'm taking Miami over a lot of besides the Nets. I'll be rooting for Miami if they ever do meet the Nets, but besides the Nets, I think they could beat anyone in the East. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Oh wait, with Dame, forgot about Dame. What do you think about the move?
It's fine. You guys said a lot of stuff I was gonna say. I don't think they're better than the Bucks. Let me put that out there. That was an outlandish statement, but I'm gonna let it pass. Getting Kyle Lowry was a great addition. Just like the Lakers, the Heat were kind of strapped at what they could do, and they made the most of it because Pat Riley's a god. They got Kyle Lowry. You good over there?
He's Satan, bro. He's Satan.
Godfather Don.
Yeah.
Tell him, Dame.
Yeah. Yes, he's a god. Relax, Chris. Relax.
Okay.
Kyle Lowry, I think, is a great addition. He's proven to when he's a champion. He's a winner. He's a champion. So that's a great addition to add to Heat team. That was just in the finals last year. Keeping Oladipo, we're gonna see how that goes. I know he's hurt and he's been rather inconsistent the past couple seasons, but I think the best addition of all, obviously Kyle Lowry is better, but I think the best addition for them was PJ Tucker. Not only because of the stuff he can add to their team, but the fact that they took him away from Milwaukee and he was such a vital part to Milwaukee's success. So it's kind of like, again, comparing this to baseball, it's like the Yankees taking away Garrett Cole from the Astros. You're taking away such a vital part of your rival's team. and you're adding him to your own team. The only thing I would say is I don't like the Duncan Robinson contract, but like I said, the Heat were so strapped on what they could do. It came to a point where it's like you can't really add anybody else, but so you have to do whatever you can to keep the players that you do have that have helped you been successful the past season and past couple seasons. So that's what I say. That's what they did with Duncan Robinson, because if you let him go, like you're just getting worse, and there's no way for you to improve because you're so strapped under the cap. So overall, I like what the Heat did. I think they're the third best team in the East behind the Bucks and the Nets. I do think they're better than Philly. They're obviously better than the Hawks. So yeah, the Heat are back. I do think they're a championship contender, and we'll see where they go in the playoffs.
All right. We'll move on over to another winner. To some, they might be a bigger winner. To me, they're just a winner. But again, it depends who you ask. They're obviously a winner because they were trash before, and now I guess they're not trash based on the additions they made. But this is a discussion. The Chicago Bulls. That's right. The Chicago Bulls are a winner. I'll give them that. They're a winner. So they signed Lonzo Ball to 4 years, $85 million. Well, it was actually a sign and trade, I believe. They sent what's his name, Thomas Satoransky and Garrett Temple to the New Orleans Pelicans. And then they signed DeMar DeRozan. It was a sign and trade, and then they signed DeMar DeRozan to a long-term contract. So Thaddeus Young, I'm missing someone else. So they sent someone else other than Thaddeus Young and some picks to the Spurs, and they get DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan signs for 3 years, $85 million in 2021. Okay, so the Bulls, they have their five now. You got Lonzo Ball, you have Zach LaVine, you have DeMar DeRozan, you have Pat Williams, who I like a lot, and now you have Nikola Vucevic. We don't know what's going to happen with Lauri Markkanen. That's to be determined. I know Shams reported that the Hornets have emerged as a possible suitor for him, but who knows? Probably when this podcast will be done, when it'll be released, maybe Lauri Markkanen will sign somewhere. But clearly it's a W because the Bulls have been irrelevant the last half a decade. Now, I think a lot of people are gassing this up. I'm sorry. I have to be the look. I think
1,000% agree.
Thank you, Dame. Thank you. This is gonna be a rare occurrence where we agree with each other. So I think, look, they're gonna be extremely fun.
The
right?
world's ending.
The House of Highlights is gonna suck them off like no tomorrow, right?
They already have.
Yeah, and I get it. It's a young, fast team. Now, I think with LaVine there, honestly, if it was Lonzo, LaVine, and Vucevic, I could get behind that. But now you had DeMar DeRozan. Lonzo is not a half-court facilitator. He's not a half-court creator, and now you kind of put him with a half-court center in like Nikola Vucevic. I know Lonzo likes to like play fast-paced and in transition. I just don't think like you're gonna have DeMar DeRozan who's gonna want the ball as well with Zach LaVine. I feel like these are two ball-dominant players, and then you're gonna need to like feed Vucevic. I feel like the reason why Lonzo didn't like work that well in New Orleans is because like they kind of turned up into a spot-up shooter sometimes. And with like DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, I think LaVine could obviously adjust a little bit more than DeMar DeRozan. I know DeMar DeRozan has playmaking abilities like we saw with the Spurs, but again, you're in the Bulls now, not the Spurs. I don't necessarily know. I'm going to question how they're going to utilize Lonzo with a LaVine and DeRozan tandem, because again, it didn't work out. It became like a spot-up shooter as opposed to just like handling the primary ball duties. I don't know. I just think I'm questioning how they're going to utilize Lonzo going forward. But who knows? It's kind of like a wait and see scenario. But again, you pay him money to be like your primary point guard. Like I don't know what's going to happen with Kobe White from now on, but who knows? DeMar DeRozan. This is the one that I think a lot of people are talking about. $28 million per year in the year of 2021. DeMar DeRozan, I thought there was smoke that he might take a pay cut to go for, like, for example, Lakers or Clippers. I know he had a meeting with the Clippers that got canceled because I guess the Bulls had something lined up, and they obviously did. I don't know, man. The fit with him and LaVine is going to be so weird because I feel like they're similar players in terms of play style. He can't shoot for his life, and Vucevic is going to need the ball as well. I feel like people are underplaying that. These are like three guys that are going to need the ball. I think Lonzo is going to be best to kind of split the pie. He's going to be used to split the pie, but I'm going to get this out of the way. This is a play-in team. I think they could get into the playoffs, but they are capped out now. I don't know if they have like a mid-level exception or something or a trade exception, but this is a first round team ceiling wise. this team is going to be fun. This team is not going to win a lot. I mean, look, the East is stacked now, and like your main guys are going to be Lonzo, Levine, Vucevic, and DeRozan. Like, where's the defense in this team, bro? I think there'll be a playing team. I don't know if there'll be a top 6 team. Who knows? The East is stacked. This team, their ceiling is low, in my opinion. You know what this screams like that we've constantly scrutinized? Purgatory teams. And I question the Vucevic trade because I think they gave up a lot for him. You don't know what's going to happen with Levine in the future. I think he's going to resign now because they made all these moves to essentially kind of, make him happy. But I don't know. This is going to be their team going forward. I don't know if they can make any other moves. It's going to be hard to trade DeMar DeRozan in 2 years. Yeah, I Vucevic as well. So, Jurg, what do you think of this? Am I wrong to think that this team now is their ceiling is maybe like one playoff win, and by one playoff, I mean like
In
one
the
playoff
play-in.
game, or like they could make the playoffs based off like a play-in game, like they'll win the play-in tournament and they could get like the 7th or 8th seed. They could maybe even get to the 6th seed. They are not making it to the top 5 seeds, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I don't. So I don't think you're wrong necessarily because I think we can all agree they got a lot better. Like that cannot be denied. They got a lot better. I will say this: I do like Lonzo there for his defense because look, Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic, they've proven 2 things to me in their NBA careers. Neither of them are winners. Neither of them have led a true successful winning team. Vucevic before this was on one of those purgatory teams, and Zach LaVine has never been on a team that finished with an above 500 record. Hell, I don't even think he's been on. I don't think a team of his has ever finished 10th seed in the East before. So, like, these are 2 guys that need a good team around them. So I think Lonzo is fine. I think his natural playmaking is a good complement there, and his defense especially. I think, him and Patrick Williams will help defensively in the line. And I actually do like the DeMar DeRozan pick. I would have liked I always said this, whoever got DeMar DeRozan this offseason, I was going to consider them much improved because I like DeMar DeRozan. I think he's one of the mid-range masters in the game today. I think he could slash to the rim with reckless abandon. And I don't mean reckless as a bad thing. I mean, like, he could just attack. And he's in San Antonio, he improved his playmaking so much to the point where if you play him at the 3, he's essentially a point forward now who can attack, slash, all that. So I actually do like DeRozan. I really do. But I think
For 28 mil?
some people are overhyping this team. Some people are really overhyping this team. I saw one person say they could somehow become the 3rd seed in the East if things break right.
That's enough.
Heck no. At best, if things break right for this team, they'll be the 6th seed at best. And that requires a lot of other teams to have just bad stretches of play. Their players don't show up. Guys fail to live up to expectations, etc. My ultimate thing with this team, there's some talent there. Is Billy Donovan the right coach?
Nope.
Like, that's the thing, man. I think a lot of people forget the fact that Billy Donovan in OKC, he had Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook at first, and then he always had Russell Westbrook, and then he had Paul George. And then, yes, when he got fired. Oh, well, not got fired. I guess technically, well, whatever. Contract wasn't renewed or whatever the situation was with OKC. Like, yes, he made the playoffs a bunch, but that doesn't mean anything. It really just doesn't to me. Like, coaches, it's very select. Like, you can tell when a coach is having a true impact. And Billy Donovan, he'll be more of a net negative than a positive on most nights for this team. I really do. I don't think he's the right coach for this team. And I think we saw with Atlanta what Lloyd Pierce was doing then when Nate McMillan took over, what Eric Spoelstra has proven in Miami, what Tom Thibodeau did for the Knicks, what Monty Williams did for the Suns. We have seen it now. The right coach can help a team. If this team had a better coach now, I could buy in a little bit more to what their ceiling could be. But I don't think Billy Donovan is the right coach. But this is a much better team. I agree with you. I think some people are over hyping them a little bit too much. This is a playoff caliber team, truthfully and properly. They are that. I expect them to be in the play-in. And like I said, if things break right for this team, they go on a nice run, and maybe someone else like the Hawks, if they get an unlucky injury, if the Knicks get an unlucky injury, if the Heat get an unlucky injury, then maybe they could slot into the 6th, maybe 5th if multiple teams go down. But I think for now, the expectation needs to be the play-in and 6 seed at best.
Yeah, but Dave, before you go, the fit with DeRozan and Levine just seems redundant to me. I don't know. This is why I think if it was just Vooch, Levine, and Lonzo, I think I would have liked it better. Like, yeah, you get more talent with DeRozan, but I don't know. There's just too many mouths to feed in terms of just like who gets the ball, whose turn is to score. Yeah, like you, Jurg, I'm not a fan of Billy Donovan as a coach either. I don't know. I don't know if he can handle all this, but yeah, I mean, I could be wrong. This team could, barring luck, could be in the playoffs. But Dane, what do you think about this?
I can't believe I'm agreeing with you so much about this, but yeah. I think they would have been better off without DeRozan just having Lonzo, Levine, and Vooch as their core, and just still having that little like kind of wiggle room to get better. But now, like you mentioned before, they're kind of that team in purgatory that is not going to be a championship contender, but they're not going to be bad enough to get a good draft pick or have any cap space to get better. Not even to mention the draft picks; they don't even have their draft picks because they traded
Till
away for Vooch,
2028. They can't
and
trade
for
till
DeRozan.
2028. Yeah.
Like how are they going to get better? Like DeRozan's not getting any younger. Like I get Levine and Lonzo, but Vooch isn't getting younger either. So, but like I guess Lonzo's like a good point guard to have to kind of distribute between like DeRozan, Levine, and Vooch. But like you mentioned before, like DeRozan and Levine, both wing players, like they're just games are too similar, and I don't see them meshing really. Neither one of them is a really elite 3-point shooter, and neither one of them is really an elite defender either. Like if they run into like the Nets, who's gonna guard KD? Who's gonna guard James Harden? Like I don't know. Who's going to guard Giannis? Who's going to guard these elite wings on the outside? DeRozan's too small to guard them. Levine's not that good of a defender, and he's too small as well. So yeah, like obviously they added talent, and that's great. But looking forward and looking at them as a real contender, I just don't see it. I do think they're overrated as well. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I think the Knicks are gonna have a better record than them and go
I
further than
agree.
them in the
I agree.
playoffs as well.
Agreed.
The Knicks,
Nice.
the Knicks didn't add guys like Lonzo or DeRozan, but they kept their core guys that helped them be successful last year. They added a guy like Kemba, who is
We'll talk
talented
about
on
them.
cheap. Yeah, I know that's I'm kind of leading into it because that's the next team. But yeah, like I just think I personally think the Knicks are gonna be better than the Bulls will be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're all in consensus here. Again, they're going to be a fun team, but they're not going to play any defense. Shooting's going to be a struggle.
It's cool
Um,
that they improved. I just don't.
well,
I think a lot of
we.
people overrating them.
I also think the standard might be different because the Chicago Bulls have been such ass the last like half a
Mm-hmm.
decade that
Yeah.
I think this improvement is just good enough for them. You know,
That and
um,
also, guys, think about it. With the play-in now, with the 9th and the 10th seed mattering more, a lot of people are going to call some of these teams, oh, they're a playoff team now. No, they're not a real playoff team. It's just because of what the play-in does. It forces the 7th and the 8th seed to have to play for their spots. Like, realistically now there's only the way I see it, there's only 6 real playoff teams definitively, and then the other 4 are just fighting for the last spots. Like, that's the
yeah,
way it is.
yeah. Again, we could be wrong. The Bulls could end up being
We're not
good.
gonna be wrong. If me and
All right.
Chris agree, it's never wrong.
Yeah. You're right.
That's the
I was ready to put down bread with some people because of like some of the hot talk about the Bulls, but whatever. Yeah, we move on over.
One of my boys bet with my other boy $1,500 that the Bulls will finish the top 4 seed.
Oh my god.
1,500.
Yeah. Shout out to my boy E. My boy
I will
E's
say
gonna win
this.
$1,500.
I will say this really fast. If you are a sports bettor, for our 15 listeners that listen to us, because the numbers are going up, boys. If you are a sports bettor and in your state where it is legal to gamble, if you see the odds of the Bulls being a top 4 seed, that they're like, what are the odds to make money? It's plus, right? Like plus 2,000 or
Yeah.
whatever. So
Yeah.
if you see the odds are like really high on that, it's not a bad idea to just slip like $20-$50 in there, and if it somehow breaks, you make money. Like, I'm just saying, like there's Jurg's gambling advice for the week.
Yeah, and just solid betting advice from ours truly, Jurg. So, yeah, we've talked a lot about Chicago. Enough about them. We move on over to the New York Knicks. Yeah, that's right. Our final winner of this free agency, guys. It brings me such joy to talk about them as winners because at first it didn't seem like they were winners. Now, Woj broke some news that they re-signed Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel to 3 years. Okay, so Alec Burks got 3 years, $30 million, and then Nerlens Noel got 3 years, $32 million. I believe $10 million is the mid-level exception, Jerk. Am I correct on that, or am I?
Yeah, about like $9-10 million.
Okay, so they essentially got a little bit higher than that, just slightly higher. Now the Burks contract, I was like, all right, I'll take it. Burks is a solid shot creator. We need him. We need a guy to generate some offense when Randall isn't going, or just or something off the bench. But then the Noel contract was kind of like, 3 years, $32 million for a backup big man who's primarily defense, who can't catch a freaking ball, who is offensively challenged. I'm like, ooh, I don't know about that one. And then we re-signed Derrick Rose for 3 years, 43 million. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank God. We had to bring Derrick Rose back. But I know a lot of people, including myself, I'm like, man, 3 years. We're really. It's not. They're not long term, but it's just like they're not short term. Like they're in the middle where you're just like, ooh, we're kind of stuck with these. Again, we hate being purgatory teams, right? And the Knicks, I think, have been operating like such a small market team. We're just like, oh, this is kind of against what we perceive them to be doing. But then again, it was revealed that they were all the contracts are 2 years and team option for the third year. So we're like, thank God us Knicks fans were relieved. And also, these are contracts that you use in a possible trade in the future if there's like a trade offer, because you can't really be offering like these short 1 year 5 million type deals. It's kind of hard to get those off the books, especially when you trade. So like you kind of use these that are just you kind of use these contracts in which you're kind of like they're team friendly, but they have like years locked into them. And then I think the big signing was Evan Fournier, 4 years, 78 million. But again, it's 3 years with a team option in the fourth year. I know that generated some mixed responses. Um, but yeah, so I feel a lot better because of the team options. Were they some slight overpays given, like, for example, Rose's injury history? Sure, but I think Rose deserves it. Rose has certainly won me over. Evan Fournier, I think the Knicks went a route in which they are kind of chasing familiarity with the core group, and they're also. I thought the Fournier edition was big because I'm like, okay, we added another scoring piece who would kind of create the shot, but also again 3-point shooting as well. But also this is a piece in which it's supporting RJ and Randall going forward. I'm like, okay, he's a very good complementary piece. So I go to Damien on this one since you're my fellow Knicks fan. Initially, what did we think about these movements, and what do we think now, considering that you found out that there's a lot of team options? And we'll get to the Kemba trade in a bit, but what do you think?
Initially, I never like didn't like them. I guess I would say, but I was like iffy on it. But now
You're
that
mixed.
yeah, I was mixed on it. But now that I kind of look back on it, shit, like I like it a lot more than I did initially. Like you said, the team options, but it's just the fact that they like they're going into this all season knowing what they're doing. It's not like a mess. Like
Yeah.
it's like all over the place like it used to be in the past couple off seasons. Like they're bringing guys back that were successful last year and very vital to their success. The Rose, Alec Burks, you saw in the playoffs. Norlands Noel, you saw how much of a rim protector he was when Mitchell Robinson went down. Of course, bringing back D Rose, he carried us in the playoffs for a lot of stretches. Um, and obviously he's a fan favorite, which is great. And obviously the whole Julius Randle re-signing, getting it for under market value is great. So I just like everything Knicks did. I hate the Evan Fournier signing, but like I can't get everything I want, right? So I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it based off the fact that I like everything else they did.
Yeah, we did need wing depth. We did need a wing, and we did need shooting. So again, I'm not a big fan of Evan Fournier because I also think he's a herb, but I think he's a solid complementary piece for Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. So and yeah, like Dame said, we re-signed Julius Randle for 4 years, 117 million. Thank God we got this out of the way now. I think some fans would have liked it to be like, all right, let's just see you for one more year before we commit to him. But I think next year he would have Jurg. I think he would have qualified for the 5 year max contract, which would have started at 35 million a year. So to get him at below market value. Like his starting salary is going to be 23 million when the contract extension kicks in, which I think is crazy. It's a steal. He's making less than Porzingis and making 4 times more of the production than that Herb. So, Jurg, what do you think about these additions?
Before I go into the additions, I would like to read a prepared statement. I, Jurgen Coney, at the behest of my superiors at the Somewhat Sports Podcast, would like to apologize to any Knicks fans that were caused pain last week when, in our free agency game episode, that I correctly predicted that Evan Fournier's fit would be with the New York Knicks. I did not intend to harm the psyche and mentals of any Knicks fans that listen to our show. So to you, I apologize. Signed, GM Jurg. I called it, didn't I, boys? I called it, didn't I?
Fuck, man.
Man, the Evan Fournier contract threw me for a loop. I will say that much. When I saw the report saying that they were going to put it in a range where Boston wasn't going to re-sign him, I'm like, okay, what's going to scare off Brad Stevens? Because Danny Ainge would have matched the deal. I'm fully convinced Danny Ainge would have matched that contract. So Again, Brad Stevens is just showing, man, he's a better general manager than Danny Ainge. I love it. So with the Knicks, aside from Fournier, like, yes, he can create for himself. Yes, he is a pretty good shooter. I think with that contract, it's I I don't know how to explain it. I don't like calling guys overpaid because I want every player to get
Nah,
their
they're
fair.
overpaid. You could
No.
be honest.
I will say it's a little bit overvalued for his skill set. Like,
Yeah.
I think for maybe other players or for what the market was, I usually do say the market dictates what a guy gets, but I think for Fournier, you could argue like this was a little bit too much for the Knicks. But like it said, like the report said, they wanted to steal him from Boston, and this was clearly the price point to do so. So moving on from that. The rest of the signings, Burks and Noel. I was shocked that Noel was going to stay. I thought he was going to be gone to a team that was going to pay him, but I guess the Knicks were more than willing to pay him $10 million a year as well for at least 2 seasons. Him and Burks getting these 2+1 deals, it's good for the Knicks because, like you said, Chris, if they do end up making like a big trade, those are contracts to fill in salary and very flexible for the team that would take the both of them on. So again, that it's good for the Knicks, but it's also good for a team if the Knicks do end up going for that superstar move. The other signings that they made, Derrick Rose, like I wasn't surprised Derrick Rose got a little bit more. I just think his role is obviously more than both of those two on
Yeah.
the team. So he was always going to get, like, of the 3 of them, and I guess technically 4, but Reggie Bullock left to the Dallas Mavericks.
Thank
Rose
God.
was always going to get the most money out of all of them. So that's for sure. But obviously the big W, it was retaining a player, was the Julius Randle contract. I think retaining Julius Randle was good for 2 reasons. One, you got him at very fair market value. I think had he gotten paid any more, had he gone for maybe the $200 million contract or something close to it, a lot of people would have called it overvaluing. Well, people would say overpay. I would say overvaluing, and I don't think he would have lived up to the deal. I think he can easily live up to it. I think he could be an all-star again, and if he makes 2 or 3 more all-star appearances during the span of this contract, like, he did his job. It's on the organization to monitor and pay the players right. It's not on the players. Julius Randle, like, and from what I'm hearing, if this was his decision, good for him. But at the same time, like I'm just saying overall, like Julius Randle, if you believe like was best for you, that's good. But at the same time, you could have gotten the bag. But it's on the organization to pay the players. It's not on the guys to take the pay cuts. Like Julius Randle, if he felt this was best for him, good for him. But the Knicks got really lucky there. Overall, I would say this is a pretty good offseason. Like the thing is, this was the Knicks' first good season in a while. I don't think it was realistic to set any high expectations for what this offseason was going to be. I think what you could take is that they didn't sign a bad okay, Evan Fournier, depending on your judgment, but they didn't sign a really bad contract because I think Evan Fournier, despite the price tag, in another year or two, if the Knicks do want to move on from him, more than movable at his salary, at what he does. His shooting is still there. Like, good shooting will get paid, and in today's league, like Duncan, Bertans, who else? Joe Harris. Like Fournier may not necessarily always be on that level every night, but he's a shooter. He could create for himself a little bit as well. He is a movable contract in a year or two if push comes to shove, if you need to move him to make like that big play. So I think overall it was a good offseason for the Knicks. The Knicks are not at the point like most teams where the core has been around for 5+ years and they haven't won yet. That was the first year a lot of these guys were there, got that chemistry with Thibodeau, and we clearly know Julius Randle and RJ Barrett are the top 2 guys on this team for next season. Like, that's not a doubt. So the hierarchy is there, the structure is there, and now the consistency is there. That's good by the Knicks. You can't get a lot better than that. And now they can move on to the next steps, which I think the next 2 steps are obvious. It's A, the RJ Barrett extension when it's time. And B, like I said, and I still maintain this, even though they did make one different move technically by what my words, but obviously I go deeper than what my words actually are on the surface. This team still needs another star on it. I really do. Even with myself, and I'm a big RJ Barrett fan. I really am. So while I do expect RJ to have a very good year this upcoming season, like a most improved player of the year candidate quality type year, I still think they need another star. What position? What role? That's for the organization to decide. But like this team just needs another piece, man. And I think that they'd be way more competitive because I don't think they could really give a real challenge to the Nets or the Bucks in a 7-game series. I just don't. So
No, they're nah.
yeah,
But I mean,
that's the benchmark. Like that. The only reason I'm saying this is because to me that's the benchmark of like you made the playoffs now. Like you had the Cinderella run, even though they lost in 5 to the Hawks. Like it's okay. It was the first season. Now this season, there's no excuse. If they lose in the first round in 5 games again, like there's going to be pressure in that organization,
yeah,
no matter what.
yeah.
So
But
that's the way I see it.
But that brings us to the final move. The Knicks rabbit out the hat. Kemba Walker requests a buyout, in which the Thunder granted, and then he signs with the Knicks. So this was out of nowhere.
I was shocked that OKC bought him out with. Hold on. I have a question. I don't know if you guys know this, but like, because the last year of his deal was a player option. Does the buyout include any part
I
of
don't
the?
know. I don't
Okay,
know about that. I
I was
don't know
just
about the
wondering.
financials. He had a lot of money on the table that he just sacrificed to go to the Knicks, and he signed for I think 2 years. He's getting $8 million a year, I believe, with the player option for the second year. So look, the Kemba contract was abysmal, albatross, but he got bought out, and the fact that we got him for again $8 million a year and we gave up no assets. Oh my god, am I excited about this? Because Kemba has issues, can't play defense. He has knee injuries as well. It didn't work out in Boston. It's a low risk, high reward thing in my opinion, bro. You get a Kemba Walker for basically peanuts. And again, if he turns out how he kind of was before Boston, like he's not going to be Charlotte Kemba, but like if he could give you, he's going to be like a bucket getter. Like he's going to help out Julius Randle so much. He's going to help out RJ Barrett so much. He's a good locker room presence guy. It's Kemba Walker, bro. I still think there's a very good player in there somewhere. Like you're going to have to manage him a little bit because of the knee injuries, but my God, we got our point guard for the next 2 years. Bro, I don't have to look at Alfred Payne's face anymore. I was a little scared. We didn't sign Dennis Schroeder either. None of that. No Reggie Jackson. This was, I think, a perfect thing to happen for us, man. Because look, even if we get 80% of it of what Kemba Walker is, it's good enough. It's better than all three of those dudes combined. So, guys, any final thoughts on that? Obviously, Dame, what do you think of this?
I love Kemba comes to the Knicks. Like obviously he had his MSG moments, and he's from around here. So just bringing him here and adding a talent like that to a point guard position that's been lacking for the Knicks the past couple seasons. Not even the past couple seasons, since God knows how long. So adding a guy like Kemba, even though he's at the other like side of his career, like I think it's a great addition to the Knicks.
Beautiful. Jurg, any final thoughts?
I think Kemba will be a nice scoring option for them. Help keep the pressure off of Julius and RJ, especially when the team returns to the playoffs. My only thing is, I think Tibbs may not be happy that he can't run his knees into the ground for 40 minutes a night, but I think he'll take that if that means Kemba will have a game here and there for 25, 30 points. Plus, like you guys said, he played around here. He had his moments in MSG because of the Big East when he played at UConn. Like, it just always felt like he was going to play for the Knicks at some point. And now, truthfully, it always felt like he was going to become a Knick at some point in his career. And here it is. And I think it was you, Chris. I think it was you that tweeted this, or maybe you liked the tweet. It was one or the other. But the Knicks of 5 years ago would have traded for Kemba while he's on the Albatross
Oh,
contract. This Knicks team waited for the buyout and then got him for nothing. Beautiful, beautiful move. Like this is a true glow up by the New York Knickerbockers.
yeah. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of them. All right, and those are our winners for the NBA free agency movements that occurred. Now we move on over to the losers. Where should we start? Because there was a couple. So, I mean, we shit on them enough, but man, they are just, I don't know. They're not the same franchise anymore, man. The Boston Celtics, bro. Yeesh. Ugh. I know Brad Stevens took over as president. Danny Ainge stepped down. They traded for Josh Richardson, but I guess it's a good fit. It adds shooting. It adds an element of defense that they needed. But free agency, they didn't really make a move. They did not sign anything. I think I read a tweet in which they are prioritizing salary structure going into like next year or something. I know Beal is a free agent next year. I don't know, but they didn't do anything. A lot of teams got better. Celtics didn't get better, and I think they're a loser because they stayed still, wasting Jason Tatum years, wasting Jaylen Brown's years. I don't know. They're still they don't have a point guard yet. Again, you get Al Horford via trade and not really free agency. But man, Jurg, what can we say about the Celtics, man?
Honestly, this is the way that we say it. When you stagnate, when you don't make any moves, when you get, I don't want to call them content, but essentially, when you stay the same, the league will pass you by. And the
Yeah.
Celtics going into next season with this roster, maybe Udoku, I forget how to say his name. I really do apologize. His last name. Um, they will have issues because a lot of teams are getting better, or the top tier teams are just still as top heavy as they are, and their top heavy is better than Boston's top heavy. Boston is not better than Brooklyn. They're not better than Milwaukee. I would still take Philly over them. I think Miami's better than them. I think I would honestly I'd make the argument maybe the Knicks might be better than them, and
Oh, they are. They
slightly
are.
even the Hawks. So because of that, like Boston's really souring on me. They really are. And the trade for Moses Brown, or the trading Moses Brown for Josh Richardson. Look, Jay Rich, you're a Miami guy. I got some love for you, but
I didn't get that at all.
I did not like the fact that they traded the kid. I think he was a very good backup big man, but like at times he'll start like he'd be the future starting center there, and I think it was really going to be really good. I think he was going to be nice fit with Tatum and Brown, and just trade him. Like that was the worst move Brad Stevens has made so far. So I just did not like this for Boston overall. I hated it.
Dame?
Yeah, I'm just not surprised that Boston didn't do anything. Danny Ainge are there not like they just. I'm not surprised. Ennis Cantor was their big free agent move. Trading away Moses Brown. I think when they got Moses Brown, I think that was a really good addition because not that he was going to be their franchise center, but it's kind of like a step forward that they kind of added a piece to kind of grow there at that center position. But overall, the only thing that I'm surprised they didn't do is re-sign Evan Fournier to max contract because that's just such a Boston move. But overall, this team didn't get better. They're going to be the same. They're lucky to have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, or they would have been a dumpster fire.
It's still a dumpster fire. I feel like there's going to be pressure to sign Bradley Beal next year. But who knows if they will? Who knows if Bradley Beal will leave? And now we move on over to another loser. Man, the New Orleans Pelicans. Oof. It's crazy because they traded away Bledsoe and Adams before the draft. A plus because you get rid of those two albatross contracts. You make room for a Kyle Lowry, in which there was smoke in that rumor. Kyle Lowry doesn't sign there. Lonzo Ball, who Zion loves playing with, signs with the Bulls. You knew for a fact they weren't going to match that 4-year, $85 million. Pelicans are cheap as hell. And you're just like, man, what is this team doing? You know, I don't know if Josh Hart is going to stay there either. I'm not going to count Jonas Valanciunas because that was via trade, but because we're talking about free agency right now. I'll say this. I do like Devontae Graham for them because they got him at a pretty decent contract. I think it was like 4 years for 48 mil or something like that. Solid contract. I think he's a very good fit next to Zion, especially, and Brandon Ingram because he could shoot. He's probably going to be their starting point guard. But other than that, man, with Garrett Temple, like, it's just they are in a situation in which, like, okay, there was already smoke that they need to keep Zion happy. Zion was unhappy. And I don't know, you had a pretty bad free agency to start it off. I don't know. Again, I like the Graham move. You get Thomas Satoransky back from a sign and trade, but that's not enough, man. I don't. Again, I don't know what the Pelicans are doing. They're not gonna make the playoffs next year. I don't even know if they'll make the play-in. Zion's on borrowed time, man. If he doesn't takes that qualifying offer, who knows? Jurg, what do we think?
Look, I'm gonna just say this about Zion real quick. Look, Zion, I know you may not be happy. I know you want the team to do better. I truly understand that. But I swear to God, if you don't take a $200 million contract, there is something wrong with you, kid. Like,
Jurg.
come on now. You're gonna decline. Even Luca, who isn't necessarily happy with the guy running Dallas, he took the goddamn money. Come on now. So like,
Dallas are still in a better position.
I know, but still, like, it's $200 million bleeping dollars, Zion. Seriously,
but Zion's making crazy endorsement money, bro.
Get out of here.
Especially in New York.
Bro, he's not going to be a Knick. He's not going to be a Knick. Get over it.
Yes, like Chris, like cut the crap.
Yeah, we'll
right
see.
now.
We'll see. Go
cut
ahead.
the crap. Cut the crap. He's clearly going to play.
We'll see, bro. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, no, I didn't like the offseason. Like, Devontae Graham is fine, but if they had a bit, like, I like Devontae Graham more as your sixth man for instant offense off the bench. I would have liked it if, like, they had even not Lowry or Lonzo, like, just a better, like, natural playmaking guard. Like, I don't know, just if this feels like, I will say this, to me, this feels like the first real offseason for Zion. And what I mean is that before rookie season can't do much, and then even last year there was still a lot of work this team had to do, changing the coach, etc. Now I know they changed the coach this year, but now Zion's going into year 3. Year 3 is the year for these superstars or stars going on superstars where something needs to happen, and they didn't do enough. I wouldn't be mad if Zion is upset about this and they need to placate him. They need to make a big time deal during the middle of the season. Like, they need to become a play-in caliber team. And like you said, I really, like, what are they at best? Like, maybe the 11th seed if we're being nice. Like,
Yeah.
So they need to make a move during the season. I don't know what that move is off the top of my head per se, but like, just a decision needs to be made where this team, like, takes a jump in season. And can we say that for certainly? Like, I don't know. They still need to fill out the roster too. Like, they're not full, and I don't. It's not looking great.
David Griffin is he's such an overrated GM, man. The Pelicans literally were trash defensively and got worse defensively. Whatever. Dame, final thoughts?
Yeah, this is supposed to be off season to like you're right here starting to hear the rumors that Zion's unhappy with the team around him, and like this was supposed to be off season that David Griffin shows that he's going to do what he can to try to put that team around him, and it's gone the complete opposite direction. They honestly probably got worse.
Yeah, yeah, facts. Yeah, I mean, we could trash them all we want, but it's not going to go anywhere. All right, move on over to our third loser, the Portland Trailblazers. Man, just the noise with Damian Lillard.
My
He
God.
said it himself. It's just like coaching change isn't enough. So, okay, you got to make some roster changes. Cody Zeller, baby. That's what we do. That's the free agent splash. You know, they signed Cody Zeller, which, I mean, as a backup center, to Nurkic, whatever. And then they signed Ben McLemore. I don't know, man. You're making with those on the margin moves that don't really matter. This team is literally the same. Like they re-signed Norman Powell for $590, the same contract Duncan Robinson got, and I get it. He was gonna get that contract anyway because that was the market for him. But bro, like the Blazers, it's just what are they doing at this point? Like what are you gonna sign Kelly Oubre maybe to like an $8 million? Can they even afford Kelly Oubre at like a minimum? I don't know, but it's just like they're not making moves that like satisfy their superstar, in my opinion. Like forget like you're not gonna win. Like the Blazers are gonna be the quintessential first round exit, sixth seed, maybe five because like the Clippers are gonna be out. Maybe who knows? We don't know how it's gonna go, but they made very on the margin moves that aren't gonna affect them winning. They're just the same team to me, you know, and like these aren't the moves of Damian Lillard, man. They're gonna need to pull off a trade if they want to make like a big splash. Dame, what do you think?
The point, like this is kind of the same with the Pelican situation. Like this is off season that Damian Lillard was already rumored to not want to be there and wants changed in the organization to put a better team around him. And what did they go out and do? They literally did nothing. I'm not counting Cody Zeller as an addition. They literally went out and did nothing and lost Carmelo Anthony. So in my opinion, they got worse. So it's a terrible offseason for them.
Look, take from your this is pretend to be Damian Lillard for a moment. So you're in Damian Lillard's point of view. You have asked that even though a coaching change was made, which I think was needed for a better roster, make some changes, make us a real team to contend with a Lakers team that'll be back healthy, to contend with a Clippers team that'll be healthy come the playoffs, Denver that'll be healthy come the playoffs, Dallas who Luka is only getting better and has proven he could carry that sorry franchise to the playoffs and to a game
Jazz.
7. The Jazz, the Phoenix Suns, all of those teams will be there. So the Portland Trailblazers, this is again, keep Damian Lillard's point of view for a second, boys. The Portland Trailblazers additions they make this offseason are Cody Zeller, Tony Snell, Ben McLemore, and when you traded Gary Trent Jr. because you didn't want to pay the goddamn contract, you signed Norman Powell to the same average a year salary than Gary Trent Jr. Just Gary Trent Jr. signed for 2 less years. Like, I'm done with this team. I'm done. I don't even want them to make the playoffs next year. They are such a goddamn waste of time, waste of space. If I was Damian Lillard and I saw all these moves, I know he's going for a gold medal right now. By the way, to all of you that thought USA wasn't going to make the gold medal game, gold medal game, boys. If I'm Damian Lillard, I don't care if I'm going for the goal right now. I'm picking up the phone. I'm like, trade me. I'm leaving. Fuck you. Bye. And then click. Like, I would be so done with this team, bro.
It's such clowns, bro. Clowns. Like Cody Zeller is the first move you make.
Cody
Zeller. Come on, bro. Like,
Tony Snell. Tony bleeping Snell.
And like I don't like. You don't even like fix your weaknesses. Like they suck defensively, and you get Zeller and McLemore and Tony Snell. I like at some point, like Damian's got to be he's got to be honest with himself. Like he knows his team is gonna go anywhere. Even if they trade McCollum, like do they get substantially better? Like what are you gonna get back from McCollum, bro? Just request the trade, Dame. I'm not even saying that as like a Knicks fan. I'm just saying it for the sanity of Damian Lillard because he's such a beloved superstar because he deserves it. Bro, leave, dog. Like no one's gonna hate you, man.
Seriously.
No one's gonna hate you.
We all want you to be traded. We all universally agree. Yo, if you want to leave, we're okay with that. Just do it.
There's not much we could say, to be honest. Like the Blazers really essentially made no moves. They made no moves.
Oh my God.
Let's move on to our final loser. Philadelphia 76ers. They add Andre Drummond, which I guess is which I guess is an alternative to Dwight Howard. Yeah, and then other than that, I think George Hill got waived, and then he's signed with the Bucks now. Crickets? What do we got? I don't like Ben Simmons. All right, I'm not gonna count the Ben Simmons trade because this is free agency right now. But what's happening? Like the Sixers, they're not better than the Miami Heat. They're not better than the Bucks. The Sixers are actually kind of frauds. Yeah, I mean, are they better than the Atlanta Hawks? I get Embiid was injured, but like, I don't know what this team's gonna go for. I don't know how this team's gonna be going forward. To be honest, it's so confusing. They made no moves. They didn't get any better. I, I don't even know if they couldn't afford anyone. Like I don't know how much cap space they had, but wow, I guess like they're good with what they have. I mean, they re-signed Korkmaz to an actually team-friendly contract. It was like 3 years, 15 million. Not bad for him
Yeah.
actually. But other than that, it's just like Sixers didn't get better. They didn't get worse, but it's just the standards for them are relatively high compared to like a Chicago Bulls or like a Knicks technically. I mean, at this point, who knows? But man, the Sixers they're another team that you have to look out for in the future because and there's also reports that Ben Simmons is not communicating with anyone, so that's a dumpster fire waiting to happen, in my opinion. Dame, what do we think about the Sixers?
I think they're a mess. They've been a mess since Ben Simmons' playoff performances the past couple of years, and I think they should have got rid of him before this season. But now this season was pretty obvious that they had to get rid of him, and now after the draft, I don't even know what's out there for them. I know there's talk about the Warriors, but like, is that really gonna happen? I personally still think the Kings deal with Buddy Hield is their best offer. A package around Buddy Hield to add that kind of shooter to
Mm-hmm.
put around Joel Embiid. But other than that, I think they've really screwed this up. I don't really know what they can get out there for Ben Simmons at this point, but until they do, like they just lost, to be honest.
I think, Jared, before you go, I think they're in the same position as the Celtics, but they're just better than the Celtics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Honestly, that's a pretty fair comparison. That really is. Yeah, no. I know we're going based off of free agency here, but like let's be real here. Ben Simmons shouldn't be on the team anymore. Like I'm sorry. And I still think Ben Simmons could be a pretty good player. I really do, but just not on this team. I've thought of this for a while and it was only proven this season. I don't think Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid were a duo that could work. There are two guys that Ben Simmons cannot work with in this league on a court. It's Joel and it's Giannis. Just can't work. So he needs to go somewhere else. I'm kind of with Dame at this point. Either the Buddy Hield deal with Sacramento, or if you could go back to Indiana and try to swing that Malcolm Brogdon trade again, like a different trade package. You got to do one of those, like with Golden State. Because here's the thing with Golden State, like even if you get those young players back, like or if you just get one of them back, because I don't think you can get both. I don't think Ben Simmons, because you've held that for too long. I don't think you can get both Kuminga and Moses Moody. I think you could only get one of them at best.
Probably Moody.
Yeah, probably. So Moody, the Wiggins contract, like 2 firsts, 2 future firsts, like.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best. I mean, that's not terrible, but at the same time, like, I don't know, man. You just gotta sell. And honestly, if you're trying to win now, Moses Moody doesn't help you win now. Andrew Wiggins doesn't help you win now. I would go to Indiana for Brogdon or Sacramento to Buddy. But you're also, while you're going to those teams, try to get another rotational player, like 2 players from those squads, like maybe Brogdon and who else is on that Pacers team that's like worth anything? Maybe Jeremy Lamb, like Brogdon and Lamb, and like 2 firsts. Sacramento, Buddy.
Would you give up Duarte
wish
in that
one
package
of
for
them.
Simmons?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay.
I
Just checking.
got like if you think it'll make you a playoff caliber team, like I guess you do. Like if you could do Brogdon, Duarte, and like 2 firsts or like 1
Why
first,
not? Why
like
not?
yeah, why not if you're Indiana or Sacramento again, Buddy. I'm trying to think of like a
Bagley,
wing player they have.
Buddy Bagley, maybe Harrison Barnes, some picks. Who
Right.
knows?
Yeah, I think at that point you probably could do that. That'd be really. But see, here's the thing: then Harrison Barnes and Tobias Harris, that kind of.
Forgot about Harris, man. What another
And
albatross contract.
and the thing is with Bagley, like Harris needs to play the 4 on this team. He's better suited at the 4.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna trade Simmons, you need to get a 2/3 back. So you kind of at this point you've handicapped yourself. Like had you done the trade with Golden State before the draft, you would have had sole control of what players you would have acquired and then what you would have done with those players after. You could have flipped Simmons for the 2 Warriors picks and then flipped the 2 Warriors picks for a starter, like a really good player or 2. So I think this has been completely botched by Philly. Their championship window, I don't know what to call it at this point. I'm not gonna say it's shut because I don't think with Embiid on that roster you can say that. But man, it's really starting to become a question like how much of a real contender they are because the Bucks are better than them, the Nets are better than them, the Heat are better than them, and then you I should not be saying with Joel Embiid as your best player that the Knicks or the Hawks could potentially be on par with you. No disrespect to the Knicks boys, but I shouldn't be saying that when Joel Embiid is that much of a better player than the other two teams' better players. I shouldn't be saying that. But clearly, you've screwed it up this bad. They got to fix a lot. They need to change a lot. I think organizationally, too, they need to change. Like, I know he's not the main decision maker anymore because Daryl Morey's there, but I would fire Elton Brand. He's absolutely useless. He was the guy. He was the guy that signed the Tobias Harris and Al Horford contract extensions, if I'm not mistaken. So take with that what you will. And it's
there's just no direction in that team, man. Like, I don't know what Philly's doing. I think they just accumulated all the talent. I think the writing was on the wall when they chose Harris over Butler a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
And now, eat ass, boys. It's just like, just go the 2009 Orlando Magic route, where just you like surround Joel Embiid with a bunch of snipers, and like you have that one point guard. Yeah, I mean, look, if you get like a Chris Duarte, for example, and a Malcolm Brogdon and picks, that's not a bad package. If
That's
you get
a W
buddy
at this point.
that's a W. Yeah. Like they have been so greedy with their asking price that it's just laughable at this point. So if you could get like a Buddy Hield, like a legitimate sniper, and that even includes Moses Moody from the Warriors. I mean, obviously not to an extent of like Buddy Hield and Chris Duarte, but like I think if you could get like a legit sniper and maybe like find a point guard where in which you could trade maybe Harris or something, that's not a bad rehabilitation project. If it's like Embiid, a solid point guard and a sniper, why not, man? Like, because you like it makes things easier for Embiid too, and it clears up the paint. You don't have Simmons just driving it all the time, and you have like a reliable scoring options as well. But yeah, the Sixers are they're a mess right now. I think Simmons will eventually be traded in the coming weeks. Maybe, hopefully, this upcoming week so we could talk about it. But yeah, those are winners and losers. Clearly long ass episodes. So if we have any dedicated fans who have stuck with us all the way, all two of you maybe,
Thank you.
we appreciate the life out of you. We promise you that this won't we won't go down this time length again. But screw it. I mean, look, we had a lot to talk about. Why not? It's quality over quantity. So
Content is content, boys.
Content is content. That'll wrap it up for this week. Jurg, Dame, thank you as always for your awesome analysis. We appreciate you. Football season is starting. We're excited for that. We have a lot of predictions. A lot of games that we're going to play too as well.
We will have, depending on like how things shape out over like the next coming weeks, we will have our standings like predictions where we give you guys like our division winners and playoff teams. So that is coming.
Yeah. Definitely. And also, there's a little game in mind that I have going forward that we're going to be playing in a few weeks. Who knows? You know, you gotta pull up for that. You gotta see. So yeah, guys, thank you for staying with us this whole time. Dame, Jurg, thank you for all the technical difficulties that you guys were able to withstand. And until next time, peace.
Take care.